This is Joanna, the Program Coordinator of the Mariposa and Bridging Brothers programs of the Napa County Office of Education. Welcome to Group Facilitation 101. This presentation will guide you through the group facilitation process. However, this might not be enough to make you feel ready to start your own group, so I want to ask that before you get out on the field, you first shadow one of our groups led by me or one of our other facilitators. In addition to that, we need to schedule you to do a mock presentation with one of our staff. As soon as you are ready, please contact me to schedule. My contact information will be provided at the end of this presentation. Here is the outline of how to run groups. We will discuss each one of these in more detail. First, I wanted to talk about the classroom setup. You want to make sure that you give yourself a few minutes, if possible, to arrive early, as you might have to rearrange the chairs and the tables to create a circle. Take a look at the pictures provided in this slide for example of what the arrangement would look like. Keep in mind that arriving early is the ideal scenario. However, sometimes it is out of our control because maybe the room is being occupied. So if you can't arrive there early, don't sweat it. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Students are great helpers, so don't be afraid to ask them to help you set up the room. It will give them a sense of responsibility, and you can make it part of your ritual every week. The reason that circles is the preferred way to run the groups is because everyone will be able to see each other. There's not a hierarchy, and it also gives you more control on class management. For example, when students sit in rows, you can't see or control what they are doing. Also, there is a hierarchy because there is someone in front of the classroom instructing. You can also miss calling on students to participate. In a circle, you will be more able to engage everyone. Also, it could prevent cliques from forming because in the circle, everyone comes together and is an equal. I just also wanted to point out that sometimes you might not be able to form a circle, so you will not have a choice but to run the group in rows or in any other format. For example, there was a group that met in a science lab, so the tables could not be moved. In that case, or cases like that, you just have to work with what you have and try to figure out the best way that works for you. Now that you are set up and have arranged the room the way that you liked, you are ready to welcome your students. When the students first arrive, give them a few minutes to settle in and allow them to socialize and eat their snack if it's provided. As a facilitator, make sure to create a welcoming, friendly environment. Smile, tell them that you are happy to see them. To help you with this, think of a time where you felt welcomed. What was the person's body language like? Did they seem happy to see you, or did they look discontent? Remember, body language makes up 60 to 80% of our communication. Next, keeping attendance is very crucial. I have been doing this for a very long time, and I can tell you that oftentimes we get caught up in the conversations with our students or focused on the topics that we're covering that we forget to do the easiest task, yet a very important task. In sharing my own experience, taking attendance does not have to be difficult. However, sometimes, again, we get so caught up in the moment that maybe we just write down the names of the students on a piece of paper. And then when it's time to compile the attendance to submit reports to our stakeholders, we're looking all over the place for those pieces of paper where we wrote the attendance. If you take anything out of this presentation, please make sure that you are aware that taking attendance is very crucial because it is required by the grants that support Mariposa and Bridging Brothers. Also, taking attendance can help you stay organized and keep track of your groups. So for example, you might have a student who always attends group and then all of a sudden they stop attending. This can raise a red flag and you can check up on what's going on with that student. So here are some examples why taking attendance can really help in tracking the students. So I've had students who suddenly stop attending because he or she is having a conflict with another student in the group. So it's good to know this because then you can ask for help from the school counselor to do some conflict resolution with the students, and hopefully they can both, still be part of the group. I've also had students who transferred to another school. So this information is important because the program might be offered at the new school. So then we can reach out to the student and invite them to continue to be in the program. And also, although it rarely happens, I had parents come to me to ask me if the child was attending group because they were suspicious that the student was going somewhere else and lying to them. So this is the perfect situation where you can really provide that information to concerned parents as well. I want to make sure that taking attendance is a very simple task and natural task that you do. So I will create an attendance log you can use, which will only require you to put a check mark for each of the students that attend under a specific date. I also want you to make it a habit to make taking attendance the first task that you do in the beginning of your group meeting. Lastly, if you notice that the students are getting super distracted, it is okay to rearrange who they're sitting next to. The group does not have to be formal with assigned seats. However, you want a group that's going to be respectful and pay attention. When you have your first meeting, you want to make sure to establish ground rules. This is because it's going to set off your group culture. You also want to make sure to remind them of the ground rules the first couple of meetings that you have, and also if a new student joins at any time during the year, you can refer to the ground rules as needed. You also want to give students ownership and hold them accountable. So I suggest that rather than telling the students the rules you want them to follow, for them to come up with a group agreement by asking them what they think would make this group feel safe for them. Make sure to include confidentiality and remind them that you are a mandated reporter. So that means that if you think that someone's hurting them, they're planning on hurting themselves, or planning on hurting somebody else, that it is your responsibility to make sure that everybody is safe and that you are not equipped to help them, so that you're going to have to get help from a professional. You will also be the one to set the tone in your group. Have you ever walked into a room and there's a person who is upset or angry, and without them even saying anything, you can just feel their energy? Well, energy is contagious. So if you bring positive energy, it will transfer to your students. I actually like to set a rule for the group that everyone will try their best to leave any negative vibes outside the door. Here's an example of what the ground rules may look like. A good way to manage the groups and to ensure participation, especially because some students may be shy at first, is using a talking object. A talking object can be a ball, a stuffed animal, or anything that you and your students think would be meaningful for your group. However, just make sure that the object is safe to throw around and will not break or hurt others. The way it works is whoever has the object should be the only person talking. You can pass the object around in the circle or popcorn style. The purpose for having a talking object is to encourage everybody to participate, and it also controls from having one person take over and doing all the talking. You can allow students to pass if they don't feel comfortable answering a question that may be too private. Other than that, encourage them to participate. Next, when you start the group, you want to start with a check-in. You can be as creative as you want with this. It can be as simple as asking them how they are doing or how their week is going, or on a scale of 1 to 10, how they're feeling. Pass the talking object around and encourage the participation. Icebreakers are fun and a good way to help students get to know each other. It also allows them to get up and have some fun. You can navigate a lot of fun icebreakers online. Don't be discouraged if there's a student who does not want to do it. You can give them the option to pass, but continue encouraging them as you are doing the activity. They might see that it's fun and end up wanting to participate. The next step is the topic. A tip for you is to do an icebreaker that is relevant to the topic. Introduce the topic and tell them why it's important. Your job as the facilitator is to start the conversation, but the goal is to have the students voice their own opinions. However, you can show affirmation on what they're saying and lead the conversation by asking questions such as, tell me more about, etc. Please refer to the video on communication to learn more about asking open-ended questions and keeping a conversation going. End the group by giving some closing statements to summarize the discussion and also by asking the students to share their thoughts. Lastly, you can ask students to give appreciations to each other for what they shared in the discussion. Also, make sure to keep track of time because it goes by really quickly. Finally, you want to make sure to put the classroom back how it was before rearranging. We are using rooms that do not belong to us, so in order to keep a good relationship with the others who share the classroom with us, we want to make sure to clean up, make sure there's no garbage left behind from snacks or any activities, and also make sure to have your students help before they are excused from the group. I know this may seem like a tedious process, but once we get into the motion of things, it can be done really quickly and easily. Thank you for watching. Please see the link provided on this slide for more information on how to facilitate groups using community circles. My information is also provided if you have any additional questions. I also need you to contact me when you are ready to schedule shadowing a group and also practicing running groups with our staff. I look forward to hearing from you. Bye!